Okay. Excuse me. Okay, this is Fraley's World Insight vlog for 4/29/18. Again, laid off for a while, coming back on, coming up with some new things. Not too much tonight, but a couple different things that I wanted to talk about because I think they're major events in world news and major events of history, and they could have an impact on our lives or how we live in the future. And that's mainly why I want to talk about these things tonight, because they do affect our future. A lot of people don't even want to hear about these kinds of things because, oh, they see it as something as a bore or something that they don't think that can actually happen. These are the kinds of people that get shocked and don't know what to do when something really happens, and they're not prepared for it. They're not prepared for life in general. These are people that just go about their own normal everyday business, and they could care less about what happens. But boy, when it hits them in the face, slaps them in the face, as John Lennon said, instant karma is going to get you. It's going to slap you right in the face because you got to get yourself together. You better join the human race. And to join this human race, you need to start watching the world and what's going on. And I believe that's why a lot of people, they just don't have a clue and could care less what's going on. These kind of people need to be slapped in the face, if you know what I mean. And I don't mean literally go out and slap somebody, but they need to have their eyes awoken. And who knows how you would do that, because some people are like talking to a brick wall too. And you tell some people the truth and they don't believe it. They got to see it. It's got to happen to them. Now, as long as it doesn't happen to them and their family and their immediate area of life, then they could care less. But when it starts affecting them economically and in the wallet and everything else, then they start opening their eyes and start complaining about stuff. But they complain too late. If they'd watch what's going on and watch matters and see what's happening in the world, then they wouldn't be shocked, and they'd be better prepared, I think, because they would have done something ahead of time. Anyway, let's go move on to my two main topics tonight. Mainly what's happening down at our border, especially in California and the Southwest, which includes Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, Oklahoma, and maybe Nevada, and maybe even Colorado, but mainly those main states, the southernmost states and Colorado. So, but start off, excuse me there. To start off, I'm going to talk about social anxiety. And this fits in here, and I'll tell you in a moment how it fits in. Social anxiety is a kind of a disorder that some people have. They don't fit well in the public. They can't socialize. They can't communicate hardly as good. They get a phobia or something. I don't know. It comes upon them. And there's a lot of even famous people that's had this. You wouldn't think they'd have it, but they actually had it. One of them was a famous baseball pitcher who's still pitching, and I believe he's still pitching for the Arizona Diamondbacks. His name was Zach Greinke, and he's for a long time, for the last 7 years, 8 years, 9 years or so. However long he's been in, I'm not exactly sure on that. You can check, but I bet it's been close to 7, 8 years, something like that. But he's been a pretty well dominant pitcher. And I'm not sure how he's doing this year. You can check his stats and stuff, but if you check his career, you'll see that he's been one of the more dominant pitchers in the game, and he seems to have a good record every year. And anyway, he had this disorder, and it affected him for a long time. He even stayed away from baseball, I think it was, for a year because he had this. But I'm going to talk about another disorder similar to this one. This disorder, and I'm making my own creation here. I'm giving it a name. This is more or less a new disorder, although it's had, how would you put it? I don't know. Had parts of this before. There's been similar outbreaks of this before, but not as much as it is now. It's become an epidemic in the United States, and what I want to call this disorder is dysfunctional reality disorder. Now, many of your Democrats have this disorder, and these are your liberals and your people that went way far to the left. And they can't get in the center on anything. If they were more to the center, they would be better, but they're not. They're far off in left field somewhere. And they gripe and complain and blame everybody else, blame politics on former, or even they blame Republicans for all the little downfalls. Anything that happens, they blame the Republicans. If let's say one of the, I don't know what would be a good example. Let me see if I can think of something. If bombs go off, I don't know, like they did down in Texas here, what was it, last month or a month and a half ago or something like that. Bombs start going off, then they start blaming the Republicans for it. If gun control, you got all these mass shootings. You got all these shootings going on at different schools and other places. Simply blame it on Republicans because they don't pass a law getting rid of the Second Amendment, which they shouldn't do. That is totally lunacy. They blame them for that, and then now they got all these vans and trucks and stuff running into crowds of people, killing them. And it's happening in the U.S., it's happening in Canada, it's happened in Europe. And, if you're going to ban guns, why don't you ban automobiles and stuff? They're saying that guns kill people. Yeah, the guns kill people. If somebody else is behind the trigger and they pull the trigger, yeah, it kills people. But I'm just showing you a type of lunacy. So, if you start banning everything that kills, even in London now, they're trying to ban knives. I think it's their, can't even think of his name. Their mayor, who's partially Muslim, wants to ban knives now. His police force is not even allowed to have guns. Only, I guess, a select few can have them in case of emergencies and stuff. But for the most part, they don't have guns. They don't allow it, and that's crazy. They don't even have any protection. So you can kind of see what I'm getting at. So if you banned automobiles, people would have to go back to riding bikes and walking. But then they'd start banning bikes because people would start hitting people with bikes, running over them and stuff. That's just totally idiotic. What some of the things they say. They even have one gender-specific law in California where you can't call a person he or she. And it's crazy because you can get in trouble because it might offend you. Just because a person might not look like a girl, or a person might look, say a person's is a girl but looks like a guy. If you call him a he, then you can get sued over it. So, what the world? What in the crap's going on? What's the matter with these people in California? We need to get away from them. Let them succeed. I mean, let them fall in their own bottomless pit of delusion and maggot-infested gobbledygook, or whatever you want to, all that crap down there. Something you'd find in an outdoor toilet. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's becoming there. And if you don't want that to spread to the rest of the country, you better watch out. I mean, it's happening in Illinois as well. They got more gun control than any other place in the country, in Chicago, and yet there's more murders there than anywhere else. So what does that tell you? Just saying, these people are crazy. And to further my point and go on what I'm talking about, now, America is being colonized, whether you want to believe this or not. America is being colonized by people from Central America and who knows where else from, maybe even South America. They're coming up. They're coming up through Mexico and other places, and they're trying to get in this country. You know why? And I understand why they would. I would be too if I were them. But it's not our place to feel sorry for every person in other countries, that come in here. And because if you get a group like that, it's going to cause poverty and bad economics and everything else, because people like me and you is going to have to pay taxes to take care of these people. And you got these liberal, well, let's go on to my point here anyway. Like I said, they're coming up through Central America and through Mexico, and they're trying to sneak into the U.S. illegally. And once we catch them and detain them, we have to let them go. Catching, I forget what they call it, catch and let go or something. Catch and detain and then let go into our country. And they never get a lot of them never get legalized. I mean, people lived here for years and still illegal, and they've had plenty of time to get their citizenship papers and become citizens, but they never did. Anyway, what I'm saying is they're coming up through there and they're trying to colonize this country. Now, Trump's doing all he can to stop this. He's trying to get our wall up and get it started. Of course, the liberals and them autocrats on the left are the ones who have dysfunctional reality, can't see things, can't see what's right, and can't see what they should be doing. They don't know what they're doing. They don't get what's going on. But they're colonizing this country just like the Muslims did to Europe. Muslims and people that they go in there, but what they do, and this includes the Central Americans, Mexicans, and others, and the Muslims and others. They go into countries, but they don't assimilate into society. They form their own little groups, start their own little towns. You can go around just about anywhere here in Arkansas, within any or most, any of the major towns in Arkansas anyway. And a lot of them have their own little part of the town where they create their own little market system and everything, community-wise, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying this is wrong for them to do that, but they're not assimilating into our society. They're keeping, and a lot of them we like dummies and stupid people. We give them free stuff and give them welfare, and don't say we don't give them welfare, because we do, because I've checked it out. and you can check it out too. But I want to get into what I'm talking about here. And they get welfare, food stamps, and everything else, and basically, and then they stab us in the back, kind of like Japan did in World War II. If you remember that day, December 7th, 1942, I believe it was, when they attacked Pearl Harbor. I've actually been there and saw it, and there's a big memorial there, and I saw all that, but I won't get into that. I want to get it back to my point. They're colonizing the Southwest and even coming up into other parts of the country in herds of them. I mean, there. And it may take them years or whatever, but what they're doing is changing the attitude of our country without even assimilating into our country. In this way, the liberals let them in because they get more votes, and they get their way, and they can push their laws through the government and get things changed and change our society all the way around. I mean, make it something it's not supposed to be. I mean, do you want a free society or one that where most of the people live off handouts and stuff, and where you're going to pay the bulk of it? You know what I'm saying? And then anyway, these people are coming up through there, colonizing the country, and it may take years, but they'll take over certain parts of it. And I believe that the Southwest is one part that they could take over just by the mere changing of the attitude of the people, because once they get more of them in and control more stuff, I mean, they'll have more power naturally, and they'll cause a downturn in the economic system simply by more people will have to have handouts and food stamps because they won't have any high educated skills or anything like that can help society, and they could care less because they're getting free food stamps and stuff off the government. Who cares? I mean, I say we let some people in, but we only let those of high qualifications, those that can actually help us. And in this way, the economy stays good for us and them. They help us, and we help them a little bit. But you can't have all poor people coming in here and taking over areas and then not assimilating in our society and then changing the attitude where they have all the power, and then Americans who fought for this country and shed blood for it, I mean, they'll lose their power, they'll lose their rights, and anyway, Trump, if you can't see that, then you probably are one of those who have dysfunctional reality disorder. So you need to go to a doctor and have your head checked. Yeah, I'm talking to you. If you're looking there, shaking your head at me, thinking I'm stupid and whatever, well, that's all right. I don't care. I've been thought of as a lot of different ways. I could care less. And I just want people to see what's going on. And if you can't see this, then you probably have this dysfunctional reality disorder. And yeah, I don't care how educated you are or what great position you have in life, what you are. If you can't see it, then you probably have this disorder. And again, like I said, it's causing us to lose our rights. I mean, and we won't stand up for it. The Midwest, I mean, the Southwest will probably go off on its own. But I'm thinking Arizona and other places can stop that. But I don't think California will. I think California will. If these other places don't fall, I sure think California will, because they're so dim-witted and don't have a clue to what's going on down there. But there's some good signs though from what I'm seeing. From watching the news lately, I've watched Governor Brown is kind of at war with Trump because he didn't want us to send National Guards down to his border down there, but Trump did it anyway. And so these sanctuary cities, I mean, even the people in California, the people that sit on boards, township members and boards and stuff in different towns and cities and stuff in California, are rebelling against their own state government because they don't agree with what Governor Brown says. So they're refusing to cooperate with Brown over by protecting illegals, people in the country, and simply because they know that it's taking away their rights, and they're not going to do this. They ain't going to let this happen. And so maybe there's some hope for California. I hope so. And it used to be one of the most, I don't know how to put it, I'm trying to find exact words, but it used to be a state where most people wanted to move to because they figured they could get a better way of life. Not just because it had Hollywood, but it had great economic conditions. Like even during the Depression. Where did a lot of the Okies, people from Oklahoma, Arkies, people from Arkansas, and other states that really had it rough and went where they lost a lot of jobs and stuff, where did a lot of people go? Where did these people go? They went to California because, why? It was a land of milk and honey at one time, and they knew they could find work and a better economic situation and a better life. So that's where a lot of these people went. And a lot of them were migrants, that's true, but it was just a better place at one time. But now it's becoming a welfare state almost. I mean, and we checked this out where I work. Me and some other people checked this out in some of the really bad states. Louisiana's really bad. They have bad economic system down there, and some other areas of the South, Mississippi, and Arkansas ain't as bad as you think it is. I mean, it's better than probably it has been in a long time, economic wise. I mean, there's a lot more jobs now, especially since Trump come in. Well, I live in a really growing area. In the next 10, 15 years, it's really going to boom. Matter so much, as a matter of fact, that I kind of want to move out in the country somewhere. And that's probably what I'll do later on. But I'm just giving you an example. Now, California is pushing its own people out. A lot of people are leaving that. A lot of big businesses are leaving California, going to other states because of the tax system. I mean, just to give you an example, just a few people control a lot of people, and that's not good. That's kind of like a oligarchy, and you got a bunch of rich people that control a bunch of other people because they're poor. The more poor people they got in there, the more people they control. The more power they have, the more the more they can get their way. That's why they basically want to break off from the U.S. because you got a bunch of people in there that have all the power, and they want to control everybody else, and they want to be the big wigs, you got all these people pumping out food stamps and other services that they can't afford to do, so they have to keep raising the taxes to pay for all this stuff. But a lot of it's their own pensions. A lot of people that do the major services, the mayor, transportation, the people that work on the boards, the policemen, the firemen and others, maybe even doctors and stuff, I don't know. But anyway, all these people got really exorbitant or extravagant pensions that they're making money off these little guys that can't afford to pay all this crap. And so they got a few people in charge because they got all the money, and they're controlling a bunch of poor people, and they want more poor people in there. That's why they want the illegals in there, so they'd have a bunch of people to control. and have a bunch of people vote for them. Now, why do these people want to go to California? Let's get this, and I'll show you why it's like this and why they want to go there. Because you take, Salvador right now. Now, even me, I had a friend that went to, I believe it was some, not for sure, but I think it was some kind of church mission or something. They went there for a week or so or something like that. But there's a dictator there, and I believe it's, and there used to be one there named Ortega too, but this guy's named Ortega too. And they're having an uprising because of this dictator's taking a lot of the poor people's money. I believe he told me it was for, now this is what I was told, for Social Security or something, and they're taking more than they should be, and the people are getting upset at him and stuff, and there's been some uprisings. Well, he told me he came back just in time because he got an escort. I guess maybe not a military escort, but public officials or cops or something escorted them to the airport, protected them until they got back to the U.S. Anyway, these people know this, and they're trying to get away from all that stuff, but they don't want to fight for the country to like we do, you know. And if they want to come here, I suggest that we make them do military service or something like that, you know. Let them fight for our country, you know. Let them go in there and clear Syria out, for what I think, and make those people fight. And then if they live, then come back here and be citizens. We'll sign them up and make them citizens. They did that in Greece in ancient times. They had slaves, and they used them. I believe there was a group called the Helots, and I've already said this on here before. And it's a famous group that were slaves in Greece. And I believe it was I don't remember if it was the Athenians or the Spartans. I think it might have been the Spartans who had them as slaves, and they put them on the front line and used them like, I don't know, like shields, you know, to fight the enemy. And if they had lived through the battles and stuff and then ended the war, you know, then they ended the war and everything, then they became citizens. So you could become a citizen even if you were a slave, if you fought for them. Yeah, and help protect them and stuff. But maybe that's what we need here. And if they want to be citizens that bad, and they got to prove their allegiance to the United States, and they got to prove their allegiance to the United States. They got to assimilate into our society and start obeying our laws and living under our authority. Yeah, they can keep their customs and still celebrate it. That's what we're all about. I mean, we all get to celebrate our different, we are all come from different places, and those countries had celebrations and customs and stuff. I'm not against that. I'm just saying they also got to celebrate ours, like the 4th of July and all the other great days, even Martin Luther King's birthday, who knows, but different things like that. You see what I'm saying? But they don't want to do this. They want to form their own communities, and it's almost like, it's like I said, they're colonizing, and they're trying to take over a little bit at a time. How? Not overnight, but trying to swing the sway of influence, if you know what I'm saying. They influence our society by just growing a little bit at a time, just like they're doing in Europe, like the Muslims are doing, like they're doing here. They're even doing it in Canada. And Canada's even, I think Trudeau's even worse, well, a lot worse than we were. We're getting better now because of Trump. But Trudeau's really bad about it. I don't know what it is. He don't like his own people or something. He's one of the youngest leaders they've had, prime minister or whatever he freaking is up there. But anyway, he's making it bad for his country by passing stupid, goofy laws protecting the immigrants or the illegals and everything, but not protecting his own people. Taking away their rights a little bit at a time and giving it to somebody else. Now, how did the United States and other European countries come over here to America, to the New World at one point in history, back in 15, 16, 1700s? How did they come over here and take over? They colonized. They started little colonies here, there, everywhere, and then they spread westward. How they do it, they just whipped it. And that's what's happening now, just a little bit at a frickin' time. And if you can't see this, then again, you have you have functional reality disorder. You better wake up, because that's what's happening. And again, Trump sent the National Guard down there to protect the border, and he's trying to get the wall built a little at a time because he has to, because those frickin' Democrats won't give him the money that he needs to get the wall job done. He's got a little bit of the money, but not enough, and he needs more, and it will take years to get that whole thing built. But as long as he's president, he will be working on it and in charge of it, and border security will be better because he'll put the manpower down there. He's showing this by putting the National Guard down there, and he's not the first to do this. Obama did it, and George good night and even the president before him did it. But the problem with it is that there's only very limited stuff that National Guard can do. They can help them protect the border and help them where they're needed, but they can't use any major force, if you know what I'm saying. They just gotta help basically detain them and stuff, but they can't use any really. They got a bunch of policies against them really getting it to what it needs to be. I mean, they only have partial authority to do certain things, and I guess I ought to read up more on that too. But I remember that because it's happened before. As I said, the other presidents have used the military. So, and they have a limited power, but it is shoring up the border. I just wished he could do more. I wish they could do more, and to stop all these drug cartels and stuff too. Maybe that's part of what it is. These illegals bring up a lot of drugs for the politicians in California. Maybe that's why they're so nutty. May not be to blame for the dysfunctional reality disorder. It may be that they've all taken drugs, a bunch of druggies there. Drug-infested, maggot-infested society that it is. Although some of them must be getting rehabilitation or something in California, because a lot of them are standing up to their own government. So we'll see. We'll wait and see what happens on that side of the next episode, but that looks at what's going on, because a lot of people are upset at these sanctuary cities and that their state government's disobeying the federal government, and a lot of the local communities and cities and stuff don't like it, and officials they're taking charge and they're against this. So maybe something good will come up and happen out of this. But now let's move on to my other thing tonight. There's so much to talk about, and on just even one subject, like I just said, there's so much more to the border situation that I even talked about. I know it was kind of scatterbrained, but there's just so much going on that it's hard to keep not just track of, but put into one brief few statements about the area, you know, what's going on. I mean, basically, again, basically what they're doing is colonizing it a little bit at a time, taking over the sphere of influence, voting, and they're trying to vote our system out so they can vote their system in. That's what it's all about. That's what's happening, people. And if you can't see it, then you probably have dysfunctional realities of disorder, and you probably need help. So you better go get some help. My next subject. Now I wanted to talk about North Korea for a little bit before I get off this thing. North Korea. Well, Kim, let me get over here on my YouTube channel so I can look some of this up. Let me get in here. Let me look this up real fast, and then we'll talk about this for a little bit. North Korea and South Korea and the United States. Yeah. I wanted to see if they got a certain okay. All right, let's see. Just a second, I'll be back on here and we'll talk. Get this video that's the advertisement crap out of the way. And I'm not going to pay.
Well, this may be another sign of progress. The South Korean presidency saying Kim Jong-un has offered not just to shut down his main nuclear site, but to invite American and other experts and journalists to witness at that offer made at Friday's summit. Now, the site is buried deep inside a North Korean mountain. It's been used for all 6 nuclear tests, the last one in September. But that one triggered such a powerful earthquake that scientists say the mountain actually collapsed on the tunnels and made the site useless. Well, Kim Jong-un has addressed that point, saying some people will say we'll only close down sites that aren't working, but we've got 2 more tunnels far bigger than the ones we use, and they are just fine. So he's deflecting the criticism. He's also quoted as saying, the US will soon know I'm not the kind of person to fire nuclear weapons at America, though that, of course, is exactly what he threatened to do last year. Now, he wants the site closed by mid-May. That would be before a summit with President Trump, likely in 3 to 4 weeks' time. And the times, Willie, are changing in a different way. Kim Jong-un says he wants to move North Korea's clocks by 30 minutes to make the time in North and South Korea exactly the same. The times really are changing, Willie.
Potentially a historic week there. Skeptics will wait and see if he follows through on this. Bill Neely in South Korea for us. Bill, thanks so much.
Hello, Today fans. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking that button down there and click on any of the videos over here to watch.
And get back to me. I hope that made sense. That's the first time I've seen that video too, so. But anyway, they've pretty much are backing down from the U.S. They're not stupid. Kim Jong-un. Never did know his name completely right. I've heard it pronounced different ways. And Kim Jong-un. Kim Jong-un. Okay, Maybe I'll work on my pronunciation. Kim Jong-un. Anyway, the North Korean dictator has really changed his tone lately. What the crap's wrong with this guy? Well, he's realizing, he saw the way we bombed Syria, or sent our warheads over there and bombed them out. Even Russia didn't do nothing. They said they might retaliate, but you saw they didn't do crap. They ain't stupid. They know they'll lose just as many lives as we will if there was some kind of confrontation, between the two. We're still militarily, we may have been weakened by the Obama administration, but we're still the most powerful war machine and military unit in the world, and they know that. Even China knows it. China, economically wise, China, if we don't watch out, will surpass us. Or they may have. Some people think they already have. Some media even report that they've surpassed us economically wise. You know what I'm saying? A lot of it's our fault because we allow them to put so many products over here, and we're being too compassionate to them. We're not making any money off from it. I mean, and they're even buying our companies over here and taking them over here and making money off us. So Trump's decided that he's going to put a stop to that by putting tariffs and stuff. But how does that relate? Anyway, let's get back to what I was talking about. How does that relate to what's going on in North Korea and South Korea? Anyway, North Korea and South Korea have basically agreed to put a halt to the war that's actually been going on since the 1950s, the Korean War, a war that my dad fought in, and he was in the service almost 10 years, and so I think he deserves a big hand for serving our country for a long time. And when he died, I mean, they sent 4 people to represent the Navy to honor his burial. So I was glad about that and appreciate that. And I wished I could have been half the man my dad was, but I'm not. But my dad really been around the world, seen more things than I'll ever see, and I really appreciate what he did. And he ended up like he ended up, he deserved better and more, but things don't always turn out like you want them to in life. It's just part of the deal. We all have to, sometimes luck is a lot of the deal. But anyway, back to North Korea and South Korea. They've basically agreed to end the war. I believe it was some kind of armistice going on, and the war technically was still on, but we agreed to an armistice for a while or something. It wasn't really a treaty, but an armistice, or maybe not a truce, but an armistice or a truce maybe, for a long time. But anyway, part of what Kim Jong-un, I'll pronounce his name right now. If I get it wrong, you can comment on it. But anyway, he's scared of what the U.S. can do to him, and he knows that. Plus, he's got a lot of things against. He's got a lot of strikes against him. He knows the United States is a bigger power than him. We have a lot more bombs, and we can bomb that country until they just sink into the ocean. We could bomb them so much, and send a few of our nuclear warheads over there and stuff, and destroy his whole country. That wouldn't do him any good. He might hit something with his rinky-dink missiles and stuff, but he knows he didn't really have he didn't have what he said he had. He was just bluffing. He was just trying to get more out of us. What he's done in the past 2 or 3 or 4 times in our history, including Clinton, George Bush, and Obama. I've had meetings with this guy and agreed not to, attack them and stuff if they stopped their nuclear weapons programs and stuff. They never did. They said they would, but they lied to us. And we were stupid, idiotic. And again, what was that? We had this dysfunctional reality disorder, or maybe not the people, but some of our leaders, and even some of these on the Republican side had this, and they agreed to it, and they believed everything that Kim Jong-un said. And then what happened was he got free aid and money to help his people, but instead of helping his people and feeding them, he let them starve to death. And instead he takes this money and builds his nuclear weapons program and his military, and makes it even bigger. And and we were stupid enough to think he would actually stop. And this ignorant, you know what? He wouldn't stop. He kept going because he got what he could get out of us. He's just been doing like everybody else. They hadn't been paying their fair share, and they milk us. We're like a cow. We're a cat. America has become a cash cow for other countries, simply because our leaders, the ones that we elect, are stupid and idiotic, and they can't see what's going on. But finally, we have a good, competent, and the word competent is italicized and being expressed here with exclamation. Competent leader, not incompetent leader like we've had in the past. Leaders in the past. So we got a competent leader now who's strong, and we put a lot of sanctions and stuff, and so has China. They helped a little bit too, and then they're still sending junk in there though. But apparently China's not helping them enough because they know they can't survive. Not only are the people starving, but they can't keep up. What's the word? What we did to Germany in World War II. I can't think of the freaking word, but we did it to Russia too, and that's what caused Russia to fall. We overproduced. We outproduced them. We made it so where we produced so much and so fast they could not keep up. And so where do they go? Instead of going up economically, they go down. Big thumbs down. They're not keeping up with us on the world stage, and they can't. And I don't even know why they tried. They were one of these people that run around. They got big mouths, but they can't back up what they say. It's like a wrestler once said: if you're gonna talk the talk, you got to be able to walk the walk too. And Kim Jong-un, yeah, he could talk a lot of talk, but when it got down to it, he couldn't walk the walk. He was crippled, and he knows it. He's crippled economically, and he's just totally. He's also a person who has this dysfunctional reality disorder. Only big time. He's let it hit him so hard that he's done went totally bonkers. But what we know, he he's actually come to, somehow somebody must have cured him. You know who cured him? Dr. Trump. Dr. Donald Trump cured him of it. How? Dr. Trump prescribed some medicine to him. Now, what was this medicine? Oh, these were pills, all right. These were giant pills, nuclear warheads that could wipe him off the face of the earth. And he knows it. Plus, we started off little, giving him, we prescribed sanctions for him, or Trump prescribed sanctions. And China helped prescribe them too. China gave him a few sanctions too and helped them out a little bit, but not like they should. But anyway, and Kim Jong-un realized this. Apparently, these sanctions were medication enough to make him come to his senses. So now he's negotiating peace with South Korea, and I think I read or heard the other day on the news that they've agreed to end the war, or it's fixing to come to an end. They're talking about it, and they may, or I think they signed, both sides signed a paper, Kim Jong-un and the South Korean president. Maybe I should learn who the South Korean president is. Because, well, he's been kind of irrelevant in the news, but I've just been paying attention to the major players in the scheme of things, and that's Trump and Kim Jong-un. Although Kim Jong-un is the little rocket man. Maybe he realized he was little. He come to his realization. So maybe his dysfunctional reality disorder has been cured. Hopefully, but I still, you know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking, and I may be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. I hope there is peace there, because we don't want a major catastrophe happening in that part of the country and end up going back to the 1950s and a war and a lot of bloodshed there for nothing. Just one little strip of land. I'm thinking that this guy's pulling the wool over our eyes again, and I'm thinking that he's going to lie just like he did before. But you know what? I think Trump's really watching, and he's going to make sure that we get the good side of this deal. And I don't think he's going to allow Kim Jong-un to pull the wool over our eyes. I think if he agrees to denuclearization, that North Korea and this little fiery ant of a dictator, little rocket man, or little rocket boy, we should be calling him little rocket boy. I think he's got to be able to allow our inspectors in there to all their major cities and their military. We've got to be able to inspect them. We've got to be able to go in there anytime we want to, whenever we want to, any time of day or night, to inspect them. And I believe that, and I know they're going to want money from us because their people are starving. And I think Kim Jong-un has got to agree to settle, to put on over a new leaf, you know what I mean? Not leaf. Change his attitude toward life in general, all the way around. He's got to repent and change his ways, you might say, and help his people instead of just relying only on military. He could rely on agriculture and other stuff to help his country, and technology. He could take a lot of lessons from South Korea. It's got a really great economy, and we could do a lot of business with them, and we could even help them if they just use their brains. Look what happened to Japan, one of the better economies in the world. South Korea, one of the better economies in the world. Even down there in Malaysia and different places, was it Singapore and other places, economy's really good. So, with all this said, I don't have any other thing major I wanted to talk about. Those were the two main topics. And I may have got carried away here and there and got off into tangents, but they've been pretty well related to what I was talking about. And I think you get the message. And let's don't let our country be colonized, and let's don't be swayed, and let's don't be what's the word for it? Let's don't be naive in world events and situations. Let's don't let what's happened in the past happen again. History repeats itself if you let it, but if you know what's happened in history and you watch it and you don't allow it to happen, then you're a wise man. A foolish man doesn't learn from the past. He does the same thing over and over, and then he shoots himself in the foot over and over, or sticks his foot in his mouth over and over. Instead of changing his strategy or doing something different, a fool keeps doing the same thing and reaps the same results, which are only bad. So anyway, this is Big Head Red, Fraley's World Insight blog, signing off for 4/29/18. And this is the populist revolution as it continued. Only the most common, the common agenda, the common ideas, and common what's good for the people, not what's good for the not good for other people who in other words, what Trump said, Americans first, everybody else get in line, because that's the way it's going to be, and it's going to be a big line. And it's going to be long, and you better hope that you got something to contribute to our society, or else you're not even probably going to be in this line. See, to even get in the line, you may not get in anyway, but to even get in the line, you better hope you can contribute to our society in some good economic way, or else forget it. So this is Big Head Red's Fraley's World Insight blog signing out here on this Sunday evening. So, good night.